Alright, that's where we left off. Now let's switch this mode to vehicle mode. What you do? Vehicles need humans, we'll get back to that later. Where do we spawn a vehicle? We had the trigger somewhere here, so we don't want to spawn them there because you'd see it. Gotta be outside. Shouldn't be too far away, but on this map, just put them right here in the middle of the street. Obviously we're going to use Panhard. It's the most common vehicle. There's a lot of vehicles in here, but you can only really move the Panhard and the Hemmet. Everything else, strikers, yes, but they're friendly. So you highlight Panhard, right click, just like with a dynamic model. Use the cursor keys while they're flying in the air to rotate them in the right direction, because they do not do a Y turn. They'll get very confused if they're not somewhere on the AI graph, which you can always double check. Go to AI graph, hit N to be on the vehicle graph, and look, I'm right on the line. Sometimes I actually like to have one of those nodes right in front of their nose so they really get going. This one can be moved back. Right thumb button again. So back to the vehicle. It needs a certain name. Actually, click. In this case, my naming convention is pretty simple. Panhard 01. You're never going to have more than 20. It has to be a sequence spawn. Otherwise, they're always going to be on the map, and they're going to have to be hostile. Sequence death, I never use. So that's the vehicle. What I also need is a destination, and instead of endlessly guessing what this coordinate is, or use the F12 key here to write these things down, what I do is I throw Panhards on here that I name after the destination. It just doesn't even matter which orientation. All I want to get from them is the XY coordinates. So I can call this dest for destination, PH01 for Panhard 1, underscore A. It's my first one because I randomize. I have more than one. Here's my B. And it doesn't matter what you do with all the other checkboxes. This stuff gets deleted from the map eventually. Dest PH01B. And sometimes we'll just like to have 3 or 4. I do up to 4. More than 4 it gets really annoying. Dest PH01C. 3 is good enough. I usually have way more than one Panhard, but just for this demo I'm going to do 1. So once the Panhard is there, it needs a crew. Go back to human and put them right next to it. Really close perimeter. Right click as if you're creating a regular soldier. Let's do a guerrilla crew here. There they are. Mexican Vehicle Group Crew 2. Check the crew box, because that makes the crew actually go in the car and drive it. And you better tell them to patrol, because otherwise they're not going to go anywhere. And you name that group exactly what the vehicle is called. Panhard 01. You go into group transport, and you tell them to go and be in the transport called Panhard 01. And now this Panhard, when it spawns, will have a crew that will sit in there and be ready to go if it's being told to go somewhere. But we can put some passengers in there as well. How about 4? And we tell them to patrol too, because that's what works. We call them as well Panhard 01, and we tell them to spawn with a vehicle, otherwise they just stand around the landscape. And we are done with the first Panhard, other than the script that needs to now take these 3 destinations that I created and put it all into the code that tells the game in the randomizer, okay, this time we're going to spawn 5 seconds in, drive to destination B, and unload and start shooting. That's basically the Panhard mechanics, but it's just one of many. This one has 3 destinations, and you can reuse them, these destinations, for other cars, or you just make a whole new batch. Ultimately, the rest of this all happens now in the scripting. So I'm going to save this and tell you what I do with what I just created in that world file, which is a good time to take a look at these files anyway. I open my custom levels folder, go in the work folder for the test map, and find my most current world file. This is the one I just saved, and I right click on it and hit edit, and here is what's in it. Up on top, this is all AI graph. We don't really care. We're going to go to the very bottom actually where this vehicle is. This is my Panhard 1. That's the one I really want. It's called Panhard 01. These three are called Panhard destinations. I'll take the whole batch actually, highlight it, copy it, create a new file, save it in here, file, save as, make a folder on my desktop, call it test map files, go in there, and usually I call this raw stuff my vehicle dest raw.txt file, because I'm going to keep adding to it. Later on I'm going to come back and just grab these values, the X and the Y and the Z coordinate for each vehicle, to put in my script. How that's done I'll show you later. Actually, another thing I usually do here is I'm going to find my humans, Control F, hum, and find the human part in the map. And this part, starting here all the way down to when the look of the map slash human appears, I copy, I'll make a file new, paste in here, file, save as, call it humans.txt, save it in my same temp folder. Now I minimize this. Whoops, I lost. Okay. Well, actually I didn't. I saved it as. Later on I'm going to paste. So I'm going to go in here and find again what I copied and delete it. Select all these guys that I just created, including the Panhard crew. Delete it. So I can return to the map and edit the next level, the next spawn, and not have these guys on the map anymore. First of all, it makes the whole thing run smoother. Second, eventually, after 2-3 of these spawns, the editor will crash, run out of memory, because it wasn't designed to make 12 times the spawns. That is actually necessary, but for the randomizer, well, I just do a little extra work and keep it from crashing by storing the data somewhere else. It doesn't crash the game when it's in the map that actually gets loaded, because it doesn't care that there's so many versions. It only picks the one it's told to pick. All the stuff in here is buildings, power lines, the AI graph, all this stuff up here, which is the bulk of the file. We can actually delete out of it after we do a quick export, and I'm going to show you that in the next segment how that's done.